What's up guys, Lifting here. In this video I'm going to show you the new Wild Strike skill gem in action. But let's first take a look at the skill description so it makes more sense to you guys. So Wild Strike, as you can see, it has a ton of keywords it is influenced by. So it has projectile, attack, melee, lightning, cold, fire, AoE and chaining. That means that any support gem or any skill node that influences either of these keywords will benefit this skill gem. Right now it's level 16, it has a mana cost of 13, and the way it works is that your melee weapon strikes an enemy, converting some of the damage to a random element. Then, depending on the element chosen, it releases an explosion, an arcing bolt of lightning, or an icy wave. And it's very important to note here that this explosion, the arcing bolt or the icy wave, first of all, the arcing bolt looks a little like a magma ball, a small magma ball. The lightning looks very much like arc, and the icy wave looks very much like freezing pulse, but with a much better range. And it's very important to note with these elemental effects here that these are actually considered attacks, not spells, and that means that a thing such as Herald of Ash here usually doesn't work on spells. The effect is not gonna work, or the burn effect is not gonna happen when it is used together with a spell. But since the elemental effect here are considered attacks, you can actually, if an arc hits an enemy over here, it will actually make it burn for the extra damage that, or for the overkill damage from Herald of Ash. So, as you also can see, it deals 131 of base attack damage. That's because of the level it has right now. I can't remember the exact base attack damage on level 1, but anyway, it also changed 6 times. That goes for the arc skill ability, and it converts 60% of your physical damage to fire, cold, or lightning damage. So it converts my physical damage into the elemental effects that happens or triggers when I use this skill gem. Right now I have it linked with faster attacks, multi-strike, and melee physical damage. If I had better sockets, or the right colored sockets, I would take out faster attacks and put in weapon elemental damage. That should be a bigger damage boost, but for now I'm using it in this setup. So before I show you the skill gem in action, keep in mind that every time I hit something with this, it will either release a fire, cold, or lightning type of element skill effect. This skill effect is random, so you can get 2 lightning strikes in a row, and you can get 2 cold in a row. You can get fire, 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 fire if you're like completely fucking up the RNG. But let me show you how it works. Oh, and by the way, that's why Elemental Equilibrium is not necessarily a good choice with this skill as well, because you may end up reducing your elemental damage. Besides that, you cannot run auras if you were to use, or elemental attack auras if you were to use Elemental Equilibrium. So let me show you this. I'm gonna pop on Blood Rage as well. And I wanna strongly, yeah, you guys cannot see this from the wall here. Great footage. Right, exclusively. As you can see, it actually looks and feels a lot like some kind of casting crit that doesn't screw up your FPS. I should note that my damage right now is not very good, and that's the reason why I'm farming the Fell Shrine. The damage, or the reason for the damage not being that good, most likely has something to do with the weapon I'm using, the gear I'm using, and because the skill feels very level hungry. You need a lot of passives to really make it work, or at least with the passive skill tree that I am using. Well, the passive skill tree I'm using, I'm going crit dagger, and if you guys have played that before, you know that can be somewhat hungry for skill points. But as you can see, when I'm attacking, a random element occurs. You'll notice the freezing pulse effect, the arc effect, and the explosion effect. The explosion effect is a little harder to see, but it is there. And that's how the skill gem works. It's a lot of fun, I must say. It's in terms of pure fun factor, this is definitely one of the most entertaining skills I've used before. But it's too early to tell whether or not the skill is going to be good. And the question is, of course, why would you use this skill over something like Reeve, where you can attack at a distance and have a wider arc or hit many more targets at the same time. And the answer to this is obviously that the benefit of using Wild Strike is that you have the status ailment effects attached to the skill. So if you go crit, for instance, you will always, or you will have a very high chance of applying these status ailment effects of shocked, frozen, and burn to your targets. That is the main difference between a skill such as, or over this, compared to many of the other melee skills. The downside to this skill, in my opinion, is that it is kind of mana hungry. It can be a little hard to sustain unless you specifically spec into Spirit Void, like I've done down here, which is fine by itself. Spirit Void is a great cluster, but it's very hard to sustain in the beginning of the game. And if you have a small mana pool, it could be hard to sustain as well, because you will not always reliably get enough mana back if you are fighting single targets. Besides that, it also, this comes down to personal preference, but I know a lot of people don't like that you actually have to go over and hit the enemy, click on the enemy, in order for the skill to work. So what I mean by this is I cannot just hold shift down and the status element will not, or status effects or skill effects will not just happen. So you actually have to go over and click the enemy in order for it to work. And that obviously means that it can be a little more annoying, you have to aim more, and it also means it can be a little more dangerous, as you have to get really close to the monsters all the time for it to work. But that's what I wanted to show you guys. If you have any questions regarding Wild Strike, feel free to ask them down in the comments. I'm not yet an expert on this skill. I will be making a build guide for it eventually when I feel like it is optimal. I'm playing it as a Scion right now, in case you guys are interested. Ignore this, this was just something I was testing out. But I will actually be respecking this, or creating a new character and starting as a ranger instead. And the reason I do that is to be able to sustain my blood rage on life regeneration, which I will get more of when I go down towards the duelist tree and in the ranger tree, compared to the Scion over here. This amount of life regen is not enough. But enough of that. I will make a build guide, as I said, when I feel like it's working out. I hope you guys enjoyed this footage of Wild Strike. Remember to subscribe for more Path of Exile content. Thank you for watching, and bros, do you even nerd?